Okay, you got me. It's not April Fool's anymore. It is approaching lunchtime here in Vancouver, and it's already well past lunchtime in Montreal. So, whatever 5 a.m. shenanigans we have talking about Ivan Demidov re-signing with SKA St. Petersburg, that is already down the drain. In one year, out the other, let's get it out of our subconscious and focus on what actually is happening in Montreal Canadiens land. Not focusing on some bogus April Fool's joke about Ivan Demidov re-signing. Oh, yuck. Ivan Demidov re-signing with SKA St. Petersburg. That would be total nightmare fuel. But today, we are talking about some prospects, we are talking about some updates on players on the Canadiens, and talking about some guys that could be making their appearances with the team soon. This is all heading into today's game against the Florida Panthers, which takes place at 4 p.m. PST and 7 p.m. EST. We'll see whether or not the Canadiens take off Nico Mikkola's head, after he almost did the same to David Savard at the end of last time's game. But ultimately, this video is not about the game, it's going to be about the prospects. We have ourselves two guys that we need to talk about that could be on their way in, another guy that could potentially be on his way out, and two other guys that are on the team already that are doing some incredible work. So, let's open up the show by talking about Montreal Canadiens forward prospect Oliver Kapanen, whose elimination in the SHL playoffs this year is a hot topic for Canadiens fans. Because when it comes to Oliver Kapanen playing for Timrå in the SHL, the team is already out after they lost 4-2 in their 6-game series in the first round against the Frölunda Hockey Club. Now, for Oliver Kapanen, in these 6 games, he had scored himself 3 points, 2 goals, and 1 assist, and it caps off a season where, in totality, he had scored 35 points in 36 games in the regular season. A very good mark. Point-per-game guy, 21 years old, as a center in the SHL. He's a guy who, of course, had a limited cup of coffee with the Montreal Canadiens. He made the team right out of training camp because of his extremely impressive preseason. But Oliver Kapanen, heading into the SHL season that he had, was bubbling with momentum. Sure, he wasn't good enough, quote-unquote, to stick around with the Canadiens for the full season, but the team wasn't really doing all too well, and we all kind of recognized that it probably would have been better for Kapanen's development to go back over to Europe one more time, have a strong year in Sweden, and do what it is that he could to be a number 1 center with Timrå IK. The Montreal Canadiens cooked whilst Kapanen was out and about, but ultimately, despite the fact that he was good enough to start the season with the team, they ended up just sending him back anyway. Now, because his team has been eliminated, we have a whole bunch of conversations as to where it is he's going to go. Speculation has gone out there and said, oh, because he's finished in Sweden, he's going to come back over to North America, and he's going to play with the Laval Rocket. He's going to help out the Rocket in whatever playoff push they're trying to make, and he's going to work well with some of the other prospects that are in that system, and he's going to do great things, right? Hold your horses, though, because there was a tweet made by Anthony Marcotte that I think we need to dive into here. This was from yesterday. We'll be following Oliver Kapanen today as his Timrå club faces elimination at 1 p.m. EST against Frölunda in Game 6. Kapanen is doing so well in the playoffs as a top-line center that you have to wonder if we'll soon see him in Montreal and not Laval. Ooh, okay, that's an interesting idea. Some of the replies are going out there and saying, ooh, that's interesting, but can they really afford to do that? There are some guys in Laval that you could debate Kapanen is not as good as, or something like that. Here's a tweet from David Calabaretta from the 4th period. Don't be surprised if Oliver Kapanen joins the Habs instead of Laval for Josh Waugh. Interesting point by Anthony Marcotte. And with this in mind, you have to start thinking, okay, Josh Waugh, his role with the Montreal Canadiens has been very subpar. I know he scored a goal the other day, but Joshua has been scratched a bunch. He's been played less when he's in the lineup. His last game played for the Montreal Canadiens was a few days ago against the Philadelphia Flyers. He had 8 minutes, so that's not necessarily great. He's been missing a few games here and there. The Montreal Canadiens have not been playing Joshua. You have to wonder if his profile and his status as a prospect is fully on the cusp of breaking out into a National Hockey League role next year, or maybe even this year. I mean, not really this year. He's not playing much, and he's not getting much ice time. So, Joshua out, Oliver Kapanen in? Could that be the case here? Let me know in the comments section, what do you think about this? I know Joshua has had his struggles and he has had some growing pains towards becoming a full-time NHL pro, but ultimately, this is an idea. Oliver Kapanen has been playing very well in the Swedish Hockey League, so if the Canadiens wanted to reward him for his stellar play, maybe a chance back in Montreal to end off the year is exactly what he needs. Now, speaking about prospects heading over to Montreal, here's a tweet talking about Jacob Fowler, the guy whom we had talked about yesterday from the Boston College system. This tweet was made by Habs on Reddit. It's Vincent Dampus on L'Antichambre going out there and talking about the BC goalie. Dampus on L'Antichambre says that if the Habs sign Jacob Fowler this week, they should give him the start on Sunday versus the Predators. All of his life, he's wanted to reach the NHL. He's always performed well under pressure. Why wouldn't he be able to perform just because there's pressure? On the contrary, I think he'll play one hell of a game if they give him an opportunity. Because there is pressure, we need to win, and that's Fowler's reputation. I'm not scared with him. This falls pretty nicely in line with the conversation we had in yesterday's video. Hey, the Canadiens are in a tight playoff race right now. All of these games matter. So if you do sign Jacob Fowler for this year and you bring him onto the team, do you play him in the easy games or the hard games? You would play him in the easy games because, okay, these are the easy games. You want to have him play some games at the NHL level, so give him the easier opponents, and then you could give Montembeault the harder assignments. Or do you flip it around? Do you say, we absolutely need these points, so we go with the goalie that gives us the highest chance of winning, so we'll go Montembeault against the easy opponents, against the difficult opponents, because those games are a lot more difficult to win. We'll go with Jacob Fowler because it's not like we were expected to beat Toronto or Carolina anyway, so let's just go with the guy that we need to give experience to, and go into it with the idea that we could lose. That's kind of the philosophical debate that I think is at play here when thinking about whom it is the Canadiens play Jacob Fowler against. It's probably going into their decision as to whether or not they want to sign him to a contract for this year versus a contract for next year and an ATO for this year with Laval. But ultimately, as we had said yesterday, it's better for the player if he gets the chance to sign for now, because he'll get that first year of the ELC burned off, because he'll be closer to bigger money, and he'll be able to get some meaningful games in March. Oh, it's not even March anymore. It's April for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, to end off this video, let's talk about some really good news for Nick Suzuki and Lane Hutson, because the NHL's worst and best team of the week was posted earlier this morning by Smash Bros 13 on the R Hockey subreddit, and you can see that for the best team of March, both Lane and Nick Suzuki are included here. Nick Suzuki was the second best center of the week, just behind Austin Matthews, and Lane Hutson was the best defenseman in the entire NHL for the past 7 days. Interesting names up here. Philip Broberg and Justin Falk, 2 St. Louis guys on D, and then 3 St. Louis guys up on forward. Cale Makar's having a hell of a year, so is Josh Morrissey, and then Noah Hannafin rounds out the D-core. But Lane Hutson, with his assists and his dominance, his 27.02 game score is incredible. This is a guy that had such a good past 7 days. And Nick Suzuki with 24.64 as a game score as well. That is so dominant. This Habs team is getting some great production and play out of their top-tier superstars, which is what you need to win at this point in the calendar year. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about all these ideas that we had discussed here. Oliver Kapanen in, Joshua out, Jacob Fowler versus the Nashville Predators next week, and Lane Hutson and Nick Suzuki's dominance for the Habs heading into this new week. Let me know in the comments all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.